a no-brainer. You know that. You know when you're doing it. Don't do it. You're not full-time anymore, and you forgot to request the permission to reduce your course load. That can get you into trouble. Normally an F1 student is a full-time academic student, okay? You transferred schools and didn't tell anybody. Ooh, that can cause a lot of issues for you. Don't do it. You withdraw. Holy schmoses. If you withdraw, then you've got 15 days to depart. That's the end of it. So keep that in mind. 15 days, then you're out of status after withdrawing. The last thing is just when you finish your program, whether it's you finish your I can't say that word for the life of me. The practical training. When you finish the practical training, you are given 60 days to get your things in order and either switch to a different non-immigrant visa or depart. 60 days. Okay? So those are the big things to keep in mind. All right. This is when it gets a little complicated. I told you the numbers and all these things. These are the big ones that you want. Yes, sir?
Applying for a new visa, do you have to be in your home country, apply at the embassy there?
No,
or
you
can
do
do it
not.
here?
You can do it here. And that would be with, you can file the I-539. That is to extend or change your non-immigrant status and stay in the United States. Now you can opt to go back home, and that, but then you got to deal with the consulate. And in Honduras, that was not a place you wanted to go. You didn't have to. It's a little chaotic. This way, you can just mail it in and get the information. What you'll get back is a new. It's called an I-797 form. It has squiggly lines, and then it'll give you a new
I-94.
I-94. Thank you. So many numbers. Okay, so you can file that, and actually, you need to. And by the end of the program, yes, sir.
What is I-539?
Oh, all right. Somebody's falling asleep back there. The I-5, that's fine. I'm glad you asked. The I-539, again, is the form that you need to file to change or extend. Let's say you want to switch from an F1 to the H-1B. You need that form.
Or any kind of visa.
Correct. Let's say you are a B2 and you want to switch to an F1. You can file this form. If you're a B2 and you want to stay as a B2 another 6 months, you can file this form. But the advantage of this form is that you stay in the United States while it's processing.
This may be a big jump in the gun, but for the I-29,
Oh,
if you're a student still, can an employer file for that for you?
yes. The I-129 is, again, he's jumping ahead, but that's all right, because that's where we were going anyway. The I-129, the thing to keep in mind, this is the basis of an H-1B visa. You don't get a work visa unless you have an employer who's going to sponsor it. Okay? You cannot file your own I-129. You cannot sponsor yourself. You also cannot go to an employer that says, sure, I'll do that for you. That'll be $1,500. No. They file it, they pay for it because they want you. Yes, sir?
What if it's a business you invested in and an LLC or something?
That sounds a little sketchy. What do you mean?
Say it again.
Like if you're a partner in a business, you
No.
you can do that?
No, that's a
That's a
different
different
category.
category.
There is another category for that. It would be like a manager or intercompany transferee type thing, but just keep in mind, normally you are not self-petitioning, okay?
You're asking if you're going to partner with somebody and then sponsor your own H-1B.
Oh, no. So you can't do it at H-1B. In that case, if you're
Right. Be like-
investing and you have a company, you're doing a startup company with your partner, that's an investor visa.
And
So
you
that's
can do that,
that's
right?
the-
You
that's
can do it with big bucks. And there's a lot of requirements,
Yeah,
there's
a
an
lot of
amount of money that needs to be invested, and yes, but it can be done. If you're going to go that route, our suggestion to you is make sure you have an immigration attorney that can help you because it gets pretty complicated.
It's extremely complicated.
But if you,
Yeah.
if you invested in a business, can you still work under the OPT then?
If you invested in a business, can you work under OPT?
Yeah, it's in the business.
No. The OPT really has to be part of the degree program.
Right.
And
What is
chances,
your entrepreneurship major?
well, I mean, if you can work it out with the degree program, if they approve it, yeah.
So yeah, it has to be the school.
Yes, it's-
Exactly.
Oh, all right. So
They
it's
have to
good.
just make sure they're giving you credit for it. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Under what conditions can one apply for I-539?
An I-539, you can apply for any time you're planning to switch visa categories. And keep in mind, if your plan is to switch from an F1 to an H1B, you have to have had an employer that's willing to sponsor. You know what I mean? Is that
Okay.
clear?
So, in that case, it's where it would apply that OPT is up, I had the employer apply for H-1B, but I haven't gotten an answer back, and that's when I would be doing the I-539 for that gap in between. When OPT is done, I don't have an answer for H-1B? Is that where that would fall?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
I can have a kind of like a question, but when my OPT is over, how long do you have until I can apply to the H-1B?
You can apply for the H-1B even during your OPT, if that makes sense.
But if I don't have an employer that's willing to sponsor me yet, how long did I have until I find an employer that can sponsor me to do that?
Right, the maximum that you can be in that kind of limbo is 60 days after the OPT finishes. And worst case scenario, you would just go home, continue to try and find that sponsor. Worst case scenario, then you do the H-1B from the consulate. You know, it's not the end of the world, and at least then your status is still good. Mhm.
What if we have applied for H-1B and our status, OPT status is over? You're done with your status. Can we still be here, wait for our results for the H-1B?
If you have submitted the application and you are waiting,
Yeah, and my OPT is done.
Right.
I'm done with my OPT. So.
we consider a pending application legal status. So while you are just waiting for that decision, you are in legal status.
So still we can work.
Yes, you can still work. Mhm.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, first one for the I-129. The company has to sponsor. How much is, you said 1,500, or you just said it for a number? Or how much would that cost to the company to sponsor you?
I believe that the fee is around $1,500 now for them to file all the immigration paperwork.
Okay.
And that's above and beyond the salary that they intend to pay you. So that should not be deducted from your salary at all, okay?
And also remember, all the status she's talking about and Timothy was saying, you have to be on a valid status to transfer to any other status.
Right.
The moment you lose your validity or the 60 days time gap, why that's very critical is, if you keep moving, you can, but you have to be valid first.
Right.
If you lose that validity, you guys got a problem.
All right, that brings us to the next chapter, which is, all right, H-1B is all well and good. I got there, I did it. But as Dr. Shavers pointed out, it's only good, 6 years.
6 years.
After that, what's the plan? The next step, if you want to stay in the U.S., the next step is let's make it permanent. You're going to try to get legal permanent residence. Again, you can do that through employment. Instead of the employer doing the I-129, the next step is an I-140, petition for immigrant worker. Again, you cannot file this yourself unless you are awesome by this point. When I mean that, there's like a category called aliens of extraordinary ability. These are like world-renowned leaders. They can file for themselves. But the rest of us have to find a company, again, that will sponsor. Okay? And the advantage is that, of course, at the end of this, you get the green card. All right? You get the green card, and then, you know, hopefully after that, it's U.S. citizenship, and you can finally be done with us. But it is a progression, yes ma'am.
Before the 6 years of the H-1B,
Mhm.
can they file for this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just that this can sometimes take a long time. Because again, we were talking about the 65,000 H-1B visas that are allocated. Similarly, when you switch to a green card status for employment categories, there can also be a wait for the visas, the immigrant visas, the permanent visas to become available. So usually what employers will do is they recognize that you're kind of in this transition, and they will continue to sponsor the H-1B until the permanent category is ready. But usually, if at all possible, they can file this for you as soon as possible and at least get you in line.
And also, I think the question is also, does she need to wait for 6 years for the employer?
Oh yeah, definitely not. I mean, if you can fast track to an I-140, go for it. If that's what you want to do, if ultimately your goal is to remain in the United States, because we have to recognize that's not everybody's goal. All right? But if your goal is to remain in the United States and you can get an employer to sponsor the I-140, do it. And you only have to be an H-1B for a year or two. That's to your advantage.
Straight after OPT, like I filed for H-1B and I've been granted the H-1B visa and I'm working, and within 6 months then my employer filed for I-40.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mhm.
So what happened with the green card lottery since last year? And
The
also-
diversity lottery, is that what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
and also, don't they have a specific number of green cards for every country?
For every country, well, they
Yeah,
lump them
actually,
together. You're talking, go ahead.
They have it based on by continent, so
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
geographical continent. They issue certain amount of diversity visas for that portion of the continent.
But that's if you apply from outside to
No,
Right.
get a
you
green
can
card,
be,
or
you
if
can
you
be
work
here and do
here.
it too.
Okay,
They do it based on the country of your birth.
okay.
It's based on it.
He's asking about the diversity lottery. That's not available for every country, but in those countries that it is available, you're absolutely right. There's an allocated number, and each country gets a certain allocation. That's different, though, than the employment allocation numbers. Gets very complicated, but,
But they're not doing it this year, right?
the diversity lottery? Oh, yeah,
Did it?
Yeah,
Close
it's
this
done and
weekend.
over.
that's right. And it's usually this month is the
Yes,
final
it's
one.
the end of September is where it ends.
Mhm.
And then it starts all over again, maybe in
And
June
November.
of next year.
Yes, ma'am.
So how long do you have to be on H-1 visa to be able to apply for the green card? And does staying on the H-1 visa longer up your chances to get approved for the green card?
No, it does not up your chances. All the H-1B does is keeps you in status. And how quickly can you file for the green card? As soon as an employer sponsors this, as soon as you have this and a visa number is available, go for the green card.
How do you know when it's available?
Again, that's the State Department website. What will happen is once this form is approved, you get a priority date. That priority date is like your place in line. And then the State Department, every month, they will list priority dates and categories and say, this priority date and before can apply.
But what is the average success rate and average time like if this process takes? If like my employer files a green card for me, petition for green card for me,
Right.
like, is there a possibility it can be denied?
There is always a possibility it can be denied.
Okay.
Normally, what most employers will do is get an attorney to assist them so that the paperwork is all in order.
Okay.
You don't want it denied for some silly reason. But that being said, it fluctuates the time. I would say, how long right now is it taking for an E36?
Oh.
About 2 years?
It's about 2 years.
About 2 years.
Just for them to adjudicate the visa petition.
Right.
Then you still got the adjustment of status after that. But the visa petition got to be approved first.
Right.
Then your employer will have to file for adjustment of status.
unfortunately, it is a slow process. We are the government. We're not known for our speediness. But as long as you do the things the correct way, and keep in mind, when you have, he was talking about adjustment of status, sometimes when certain applications are pending, that is in itself a status. So, you know, it's just this, it's kind of a game, you know. Yes, ma'am.
If my employer files the H-1B, and then I change jobs and, you know, like I'm working for, I don't know, Pepsi, and I want to work now for Disney. So if Pepsi filed and they petitioned my H-1 visa, can I then just change works and still be under that H-1 visa?
As long as you stay in the same type of job. Let's say you're doing IT support for Pepsi. Then you're gonna switch to do IT support for Disney. That's
I
allowed.
have to notify, but by then Disney won't have to file the H-1.
Right. Now, if you're gonna switch completely, and now you're gonna be, you know, a cartoonist, then Disney would have to apply.
But there's more to it than that. Yes, because you got the same job, you can port your job to Disney if it's in the same category. However, Disney would still have to file the I-129 on your behalf.
Oh, okay.
But you can switch over immediately as long as you're in the same category.
But then the
But the
other
idea
company
is that-
will have to sponsor again.
Right, exactly, because again, the H-1B is only a certain amount of time,
And it's specific to that company.
so you can switch over to Disney, but as he's saying, then Disney needs to be ready to renew it.
And pay all the fees and do
Yeah.
all the process
Oh, yes.
again. Okay.
I heard that the H-1 visa was kind of like married to the company that you're with, so it's not true then? Like it doesn't, it's not tied to a specific company, it's just a specific categories? Yeah?
Yeah, the type of work that you're doing.
Yeah, no, what is she, you know, I think she's asking if an employer sponsored my H-1B, am I married to that company, you know,
Right.
if I can move around.
But a lot of
You can work.
employers
You
will
can
tell
walk
you
anybody.
otherwise.
Yes, I'll get into that part.
Yeah, he will get into that part. A lot of employers will kind of think that because they did this wonderful thing for you, that you owe them. It's not completely true. And if you are in a situation where you want to switch companies, you have the right certainly to seek an immigration attorney that can help you, a good one. Or, you know, talking to the new companies. Lawyers, for example, would also might be an option. Yes, sir.
Yes, suppose I want to start a business with a U.S. citizen, but as an investor, and like just get profits and dividends. What's the process for that? Is that possible?
It is possible, as we were explaining, it's just that there is a specific amount of capital that needs to be invested if you are going to be immigrating as an investor. There are other types of work-based categories. It would not be an H-1B. It would be some type of other.
As a student.
As a student, again, it just has to tie into your academic program.
So if you're a student and you're going to invest in someone, in a new business, understand that's a total different business. You're not doing it part of a course.
Right.
And when you do that, you know, can I go and invest in someone's business and get a green card? That's not how easy it is. That's what she's saying. There are requirements you need to complete, even if you're putting your money in. If you don't complete the requirement, hey, you may not get it. So it's not that I put the money in, I get a U.S. citizen, and then I get a green card.
No, I'm not talking about the green card. Just talking about investing in business.
But there's nothing prohibiting you from investing in business. If you have the capital, you can do that any time.
Right. It's just whether or not you can immigrate
Exactly.
based on that.
It has no impact or effect on your status as a student.
So you can invest, you're just gonna work in the business.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, just
You
be
can-
Yeah.
Well, you can
a
get
member
the
of the
income.
board.
You can-
Okay, I'm sorry. I misunderstood that you were trying to immigrate on that relationship.
No, no.
Okay. Then
So
yeah.
I can do that?
Yeah.
Yes. After applying for a OPT, waiting for the ID card, can we travel to our country, or is it
Yes.
there's a problem?
Yes, you can travel. Like I said, I suggest to always travel with a copy, especially when it gets to OPT time. because, you know, you just wanna make sure that that inspector at the airport can clearly see where you're at. What was the other part of the question?
Just.
Can you go back? Okay, and the other thing was just to remember what, as we discussed with her, you know, that time period will count against the OPT time. You know, it's not like if you're gone for 3 months, you don't get an extra 3 months.
Well, but in this case, the OPT, like the EAD card hasn't come yet.
Yeah, we are waiting for the EAD card.
It's
Well,
that,
still being
like,
prominent,
yeah.
still pending.
Okay,
Am
so
I
the
part of-
EAD is still pending.
Yeah, am I part of the university still, or what's my status
You're
during
still
that time?
F1. You're still, yeah, your status is still with UT.
Right, you are
Even
still
if I-
part of the university.
Even if I finish my studies with the
If you
university?
apply for OTT, you're still on a valid status.
Okay.
And that's why it's so critical to have the document that shows that, just so that the inspector won't have any
So you
questions.
travel with that?
Yeah.
I have a very specific question
Yeah,
regards to the
yeah,
green card category.
Okay.
Many years ago, my wife and I were international students here in the US, and at that time, my son was born. And next year, he's gonna be turning 21.
Okay.
And I think that's the grounds for an application for a green card. And how long does it take? What form?
Right.
To look for?
That would be a family-based application, so instead of an I-140, your son, who is now 21 years old, can file for both of you with an I-130. It's called a petition for alien relative. And so he would file for both of you. Keep in mind that you have to, if you're gonna do that, yeah, you can do that within the United States. That would be done along with, write this down, an I-485. That's the application to adjust your status, to become a permanent resident based on that relationship. So the I-130 just shows the relationship. And then the I-485 is what shows that you can get the green card on that.
And I also have a 13-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Who's a Brazilian, and she's on an F2 visa under my responsibility.
Okay.
And can I apply for her also on the same basis, or is it a separate application?
She is 13 years old,
Yeah.
and your son then, yeah. if
My
you-
son is a.
If he applies for her, it's gonna take forever. It would be a brother-sister petition, and those take like 10 years.
But I can we apply for the entire family together?
She's not a
May-
derivative.
No, she's not a derivative.
She's not a derivative
She
because
falls
it's a
into
visa
this-
category for their family.
Falls into this nasty cat,
Oh,
you know, catch. She would have to wait then. You guys would get your status, and then have to petition for her.
And how long is it taking to get the green card?
It's averaging 180 days.
About 6 months, right. The advantage of that family relationship is that it's an immediate relative. It's like an immediate visa. There's always a visa available. You don't have to wait for the categorical numbers that we're discussing.
What's her situation going to be, just in case we get that green card situation? And she has to apply for separately, and does she get into the same category that you explained to him? She applies, and it's a pending application.
Yeah, we'll have to talk out of the forum because it's getting into a gray area. Yeah.
Yeah, you should consult with your immigration attorney. and help you
Yeah.
guys out with that.
Because, you know,
yeah, because that's
she's a
gonna-
child,
yeah.
she may fall out of status, and I'm an immigration officer. I can't tell you as much as an immigration attorney could, okay? Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
I think some utility companies.
Hold on, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I know some utility companies, the company is supposed to have the petition for you, but what if you like work for a state in 6 or 10 cities? Is that going the same thing?
If you are working for, I'm sorry, I still didn't understand.
If you work for a state agency,
I want to change cities.
and you change
And
city,
it's the same agency? No,
it doesn't matter.
no, yeah.
You're still good.
So my situation, what's the process? Do I just file for the tax thing, or what do I have to do?
In order to get, you're asking to get like a tax ID number?
Yeah?
Or,
If I want to invest, I think there's a process for that.
right, you know, there's different ways to get a tax ID number. Normally, it kind of goes along with, you can apply possibly for an employment authorization card, that would get you a social security number. I think there's other
Yeah,
ways though
well,
to get a
you get a
tax
tax
ID number
ID.
through a national ID card now,
You get your tax
Mexican
ID.
IDs.
Yeah, you get your tax ID number from Social Security Administration. they actually issue those. And there's an application on their website that tells you, gives you instructions on how to do it.
Yeah, and I know that
It's on the
they
website.
accept certain national identification cards